Hi, people of God. Yeah, we just today we're just discussing, or I was reading about Joseph's story, and in Genesis 30 and 39, it then delved into Tamar and Judah, Judah's story, and I guess the main um the main theme that was jumping at me was the theme of sexual immorality, you know and what God's views are. I believe in the story of Tamar and Judah, you know God was frowning on sexual immorality, and he didn't exclude he didn't exclude wait he didn't exclude uh sexual immorality, didn't exclude the man from, you know, the man from, um, the man from, oh, the sexual immorality didn't exclude the man, from the sexual immorality sin. But it did appear in the olden days, and even sometimes it tends to be that the women are the ones that are more frowned on, or you know, at the end, the consequences of it seems to be more severe on the women than the men. Uh, God is a God of justice. Like I said, God says his eyes cannot behold sin, but he loves sinners. The sinners are not the sin. God knows how to decipher that, and we also need to know how to differentiate the sin from the sinner, because God dined with sinners. He loves sinners to be around them. He came to die for us, if we want to think of that. So he loves us, but he does not condone any form of sin, whether it's coming from a woman or a man, and especially with sexual immorality where it involves a man and a woman. Tamar and Judah had engaged in sexual immorality, yet Tamar is the one that is pregnant from this sexual act, and Tamar is the one that's been pulled out for punishment. Basically, Tamar is being called out to be burned to death. It was quite severe at the time when people were caught in, sexual immorality of any kind. See, sexual immorality is in the eyes of God, only God to judge. You see, sometimes even sexual immorality can even happen in some, nowadays, in some of our marriage, union, because nowadays how one defines marriage would then would then also impinge on what sexual morality might be taking place even in some unions that we call marriages. you know but what I'm saying is, God does not condone sin, and God will not exclude a man from the woman, especially when it involves the act of two. You see, God does not condone sin, and in the days, of Tamar and Judah, he didn't condone it, and in our days, he doesn't condone it. Right from the story of how did the story of Judah and Tamar come out? The story of Judah and Tamar actually came out when God showed them that, immorality, first of all, is wrong. And, being partial, with the punishment was also wrong. You know, Tamar was going to be stoned to death, but Judah was going to escape it. But how God worked it out was that now he Judah was implicated in the whole situation when Tamar exposed who was responsible for the pregnancy. It didn't matter now how the act happened, that everyone was then going to receive the due punishment that is due them. Or, for instance, he was acquitted. He was proven innocent, because now we know that she didn't involve in sexual, but that it's an act of injustice and act of impartiality that has brought on that situation. God condones sexual immorality. God condones partial treatment of one over the other, or favoring one over the other when we know that both have been wrong. Joseph epitomized, our modern day, responses to sexual immorality. Joseph knew, Joseph had been through a lot, when he experienced so much from his family, the persecution that he experienced from his own brothers. Now Potiphar's wife now has an eye on Joseph, and how Joseph responded was amazing. He said, just Potiphar's wife was, was trying to persuade Joseph to engage in sexual immorality, and Joseph responded rightly and said, "Well, my master has put me in charge of everything, but for you," he says, for you, the only thing that he has not put me in charge of is you. There are limitations that, in sexual immorality. There are limitations. When you're able to tell what your limitations are, then you'll be able to escape the clutch of the enemy. So he said, my master has put me in charge, but except you, I cannot do this sin against my God. He recognized God, first of all, as his master and Lord and Savior. And then he was able to recognize the leadership, of his life as well on earth. Unless we are able to acknowledge the leadership of God, first of all, we'll miss the point in acknowledging the leadership say, let your kingdom come and let your will be done on earth, even as it is in heaven. Unless we are able to acknowledge the leadership of our lives, as in God as the leader and Lord of our lives, it's very hard for us to also acknowledge the leader of our lives, even when we come onto this earthly realm. So yes, let us stay away from sexual immorality, because God does not want us to go into that direction. Joseph epitomizes that example, and Judah and Tamar show the example that both are guilty, which one shouldn't experience more, punishment over the other. One should be treated favorably over the other. It is wrong, and if both have been involved in it, it should be, frowned on. It doesn't matter.